Good evening. This item is for the CARES Act Emergency Solution Grants, otherwise known as ESGCV, and the Community Development Block Grant, also known as CDBG, Mid-Year Reallocation. My name is Andrea Palmer, and I work for Emilio Ramirez, the Housing Department Director for the great city of Oxnard. The purpose of this mid-year reallocation is that with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD, requires that these funds are expended and projects are moving forward as contractually agreed within an annual basis, on an annual basis. And for ESG on a semi-annual basis, so for every 2 years. So when we don't, what we have to do throughout the course of a year is look at projects that are moving forward according to the agreements and those that are slow or no spending. So we evaluate the projects and look where those deficiencies may lie, attempt to work with partners, and proceed accordingly. With CDBG partners, CDBG is an annual award, and partners have an average of 12 months to complete their activities and expend their funds. ESG generally has 2 years to expend their funds. However, with the CARES Act, we have limited terms that have been imposed upon that specific set of funds. So for ESGCV, the funds that we have at this point expire on September 30th, 2022. We require, of course, it is required that council approval is needed to conduct these changes for the activities and the changes in funding. As mentioned earlier, slow or no performing projects are identified, and we also look at projects that are able to utilize the funds moving forward within our annual time frame and spending deadlines. And we also look at higher performing projects that are in existence that can use the funds so that they can proceed within the time frame allotted. So with that, we have identified projects in attachment 1 for your review and consideration. Our first table here on slide 4 exhibits the 5 projects under the CDBG reallocation, the 5 prior activities that were initially funded earlier this year, and then the proposed activities that will move forward between now and June 30th. So the first is Thrive Mentorship. It was awarded $20,000. Unfortunately, the project was unable to complete all the documentation requirements to move forward with the contract. So we have a new project identified in the Cuesta Del Mar. It is a project that has been in discussion with council before, and CDBG is in a position to fund it. So the funds are moving from Thrive to Cuesta Del Mar's Pocket Park. The next 3 are playground equipment and installation. It's for Johnson Creek Park, Sierra Linda Park, Thompson Park. Excuse me. The 3 projects are 3 of 9 projects that Public Works has that are funded under CDBG. These are the 3 most recent projects. However, no funding and no activity has occurred to date. Therefore, the funds that have been allocated to them are being reallocated for a housing acquisition site for the homeless. The last item you see on the screen is for a rehabilitation loan program. It's in the amount of $200,000. The project was halted due to a HUD monitoring review. Therefore, no expenditures or activities occurred under this line item, and it will be reallocated, or it's being proposed to be reallocated along with the playground park equipment for a site acquisition. The total reallocated amount for CDBG is $720,953. For the Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG, COVID, We have four broad categories for ESG in general, and CARES Act is no different. We have administration and planning, emergency shelter, street outreach, and tenant-based rental assistance. The total reallocation amount listed here is $3.987143. So $3.9 million. It is part of $5,255,005. The balance that you don't see on the screen has already been expended. Therefore, we're moving forward and reallocating to specific projects that add up to the $5.2 million, moving forward with specific activities. With ESG, we are able to receive up to 10% administrative assistance through the grant. The 10% adds up to $525,000. We have reduced the admin and planning amount to the $51,090 and put the balance of the money into projects. So we have two staff positions here that total the $51,000, and that's the homeless assistance coordinator with $21,090 and the homeless assistant at $30,000. The emergency shelter is the largest of the categories at $2.8 million. We have three activities for Mercy House. We have one Turning Point Foundation activity at $52,549. That's for Our Place Safe Haven, and $548,000 for the Ventura County Health Services Agency, the emergency shelter. The street outreach has two activities that are committed to the projects. The first is $120,000 for the Ventura County Health Services Agency, and the second is $143,484 for the Salvation Army. The tenant-based rental assistance is $200,000. It's been committed to United Way for their Forward Home project that helps with rental assistance. The last item that was identified initially in the action plan for the year was an unallocated line item amounting to $651,589. The funds that were previously unallocated are now being proposed to go to Ventura County Health Services Agency, the emergency shelter, which will total that particular activity at $1.2 million. It is requested that the committee recommend to council that they conduct a public hearing and receive public input, public comments relating to the following documents that will be submitted to HUD for the two annual action plans for the purpose of reallocating slow or no spending activities between the two programs. And also the funding in reallocations as described in attachment 1. We also ask that the committee recommend to council to approve the updated changes in the activities pertinent to this mid-year reallocation as described in attachment 1 and the two action plans. We ask committee to ask the city council to authorize the city manager and his designees to execute the required applications, certifications, and other pertinent documents for the submission of both annual action plans to HUD relating to the CDBG and the ESG CV activities mentioned in this mid-year reallocation, and authorize the city manager and his designees to execute the appropriate agreements with CDBG and ESG CV consultants and contractors, and the ability to adjust any future funding of the mid-year activities not to exceed $50,000 if the programs require more or less funding to meet their objectives. We ask the committee to request from council to authorize the city manager and his designees to incorporate any recommended changes resulting from public input to the First Amendment of the 2021 Annual Action Plan and the Second Amendment of the 2020 Annual Action Plan as directed by City Council, including amending any budget appropriations approved by City Council. And lastly, authorize the Finance Department to make any necessary revenue and expenditure changes to the fiscal year 22 budget, reflecting the amended budgets for the Community Development Block Grant and the Emergency Shelter CARES Act reallocations described in these mid-year budgets. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available for any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.